and from LA not included. Join the official Nebraska alumni trip to see the Huskers play at USC. Spots are limited, so book your trip now at HuskerFanTravel.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Truck Month is back. We have absolutely gigantic savings right now at Koppel. They are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G356093 must trade.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown! 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker and one more.
Demorne Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into the Don't Punt Hour. Harrison Arndt on the ones and twos. As always, if you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. We got Royals on the brick and mortar. But like I said, you can always use these streams and that starter Heyman text line. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, Allo, Channel 961. Apologies for a little bit of a late start here as we just wrapped up with the happy hour, which again, the happy hour is now 6 o'clock every weeknight. Give or take with Fridays. Nick Stainer, Jay Foreman, they do call quite a bit of high school football, so that might be a schedule problem. But Monday through Thursday should be pretty consistent. And be sure to tune in tomorrow. Sounds like Nick Stainer's got a good guest, the man himself who called the game between NDSU and Colorado. So you want to tune in for that one. We're going to start with some college football ourselves here. Because yesterday, I mean, you have to spend 5 minutes on Twitter to figure out what happened in the land of college football yesterday. Florida State falls to Boston College, and it really never felt close. The quarterback ran all over them. The running back ran all over their offensive line, just manhandled Florida State. That's 2 weeks in a row where we've seen that highly touted Florida defensive front, that real front seven, just get absolutely manhandled. What are your thoughts on what was the preseason ranked top 10 Florida State, now not even ranked in the AP poll? Boston College, easy, pretty much walking away with a win on that one. Just running the ball with will.
I mean, that's a tough one. It looked somewhat identical to the Georgia Tech. Again, physical at the point of attack with, the offensive line and defensive line. It seems like, that they might, struggle with that. That might be something, that other teams will make sure that is, in their game plan. But I mean, the offense didn't kind of help themselves out. I don't know if, the quarterback just isn't comfortable with, what's being called or, like what's they're expecting him to do. The play style of him and kind of how Travis was last year are complete opposite. And it's just, it seems like, that quarterback needs to be scripted. And what I mean by that is, play action. Like he's one of those, it's starting to feel like he's one of those coaches like can do everything. Like, yes, coach. I can do that. But if you give him the keys and, hey, you do this or, improvise, that's out of his wheelhouse. And, last year with Travis there, he was improvising. He was making plays, on the run, using his legs, using his arm. And that's not DJ. So I think he's not comfortable with what they're trying to get him to do. And maybe, still drinking the Kool-Aid off of last year and kind of thought things would be a lot easier and, overconfident with some things. But, it's a new year. You lost some pieces on both sides of the ball. You got to reestablish and, redominate yourself. And they just haven't done that. You can't really say, what their identity is. And with those two, rougher games to where, both teams knew what their identity was. They knew what they were going to do well. You see Florida State struggle.
Yeah, and it sucks for DJ because he's going to get a lot of the heat, and he certainly is a part of it. But to me, it really falls on that defensive line. It's like it's crazy how much they're getting bullied, and anytime they need a stop, they just can't get one. And then the pressure's on for DJ to go respond. It feels like just about every single time out there. Also, just some really bad dropped passes from his tight ends and tight end room in particular. They had a few pretty bad drops where if he's finally, if he gets the right read, he makes the right throw, it still doesn't work out for him because this is a drop ball or the pressure, even that offensive line. There's times where they're giving up a lot of pressure. So there is a lot of problems going on with that team right now. Do you think they pull it out of the mud anytime soon? There's a few more physical teams left on the schedule. Notre Dame's certainly going to give them fits. Miami, probably Florida as well. But UNC, I think, because we saw what they did against Minnesota, I think they can handle the physicality. But looking at their schedule, it's not too brutal. They definitely got some tough games left. Can they pull it out of the mud? I mean, they're 0-2.
What's pulling it out of the mud? Like
a respectable season. Like you're probably not going to the playoffs, but no more than
I mean, if you still can get to the ACC championship, like I don't know if it's kind of like how the Big Ten is to where there's really no sides. Like the best two pretty much are going to the championship. I mean, that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. It would take a lot for that to happen. I think DJ's confidence has to come back and just, be through the roof. You kind of gotta come up with a new identity of what he's comfortable with to get things going on, to even if stuff like that with the defensive line is going on or the defense is having a bad day or something like that, to where you at least got a fighting chance on offense. And like I said, I mean, I'm almost ready to say his confidence is shot, but he's not at the point, where Jeff Sims kind of was with stuff and everything like that, but you can see the struggle. You can see the frustration and just like, oh, come on, not again. Or, something else is going on. It's still early in, the year. Things can be turned around to where, they start gelling. Offensive coordinators, make adjustments with coaching or schemes or personnel. There still could be that. Hopefully, shades of what Norvell's, past doesn't kind of quite haunt them, or, the 2 seasons before, last year kind of just spark up, like I said. But something needs to happen outside of, just the players. The coaches got to do a better job of getting, guys prepared. I think it's kind of on both the coaches and the players. I understand the players have to show up and do stuff, but clearly, what y'all have set forth isn't exactly, y'all's identity.
Yeah, and that's what really surprised me yesterday with Mike Norvell, because I do think he's a good coach, but that was just bizarre. At one point, it's 4th down. You still got plenty of game left ahead of you. You see DJ, they're struggling with just confidence issues, and you make him go for it. You crank it up to 10. You put the game, or at least that possession, on his shoulders. Otherwise, I mean, you're giving the ball up in a crucial area of the field.
He doesn't even look comfortable like running QB draws. Like he's kind of and I don't know if that's necessarily those short yardage situations. Okay, you kind of bring a wildcat formation and just, do it with, 2 running backs, because, I mean, they're more so confident with that. But he's almost at his confidence shot, and it may be a miracle if he, recovers at all, this year. I mean, he's getting ridiculed on the national stage from reporters from every outlet. You've kind of the things that maybe, have been crept up or, that was said over the last years, even when he was at Clemson and whatnot, all that's coming back up. So, I mean, it's just that's a lot for a kid to handle. And like I said, I mean, hopefully you figure out what he is strong with, what he is comfortable with. You got to establish a stronger run game because he's a play action kind of guy. He's not, kind of outside the box, or if it all goes one way, figuring out and making it work. That's not the type of guy he is. He has to kind of stick to a plan type of guy. And as you see, when the plan isn't going as well, you see what you got.
Yeah. And you can see it was just the team frustration at the end of there. I mean, what you saw with that offensive lineman, just a bad penalty, unnecessary, great flop from Boston College, and then hits the gritty after, which I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. But the game was just completely frustrated for the Seminoles at that point. It's going to be interesting to watch just to see how they navigate the rest of the season and if they don't give up. I think that's the biggest thing for Mike Norvell at this point, and this Seminoles team is you got to show the fans that you're not giving up on the season. Like, you don't want this thing to get uglier, because then the seat gets really hot and people are just ripping their hair out trying to figure out what's going on. So yeah, it's as much as it pains me, it's got to be kind of like one of those Nebraska football years where not pretty, a lot of turnovers, but you don't give up. You got to keep fighting. You don't want it to get any worse. And in fairness, he did get some of the heat taken off him from that FSU fan who committed to eating the dog doo-doo. I heard Scott Van Pelt on ESPN call him out for that as well. Have you heard the story yet, the morning Pierson-El?
I've seen some stuff on it, but again, honestly, that's a bit much.
It's just but I heard it from Scott.
I'm not finna, waste my time and dive into that. Honestly, they've shown who they are on tape.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, consistently. I mean, at least if you're a physical team, you'll give, Florida State some trouble. So I'm not gonna dive into a dude eating that. Dad, come on now.
It's just incredible, the manhunt that the internet has created. And the only reason I wanted to bring that up, DJ kept you off the sound waves for a little bit. I mean, the focus just shifted entirely on this one.
Maybe for today, tomorrow, I mean, the narrative is still going to be the narrative, and now the focus is back on you. And and now it's really on. So, I mean, you got tomorrow, the next day, and the day after. So, is it really off of you? No, they're just distracted with something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. It's gonna be a curious ride, like I said. Preseason top 10 to now not even ranked. And that's only happened a few times, and one of the other times it happened was, sure enough, Florida State. That's the second time it's happened where they've been ranked top 10 and then fallen all the way out to unranked just a week later. With that being said, though, I do want to talk about a few more games, because I think some of these games we just kind of got away from. We didn't pay attention enough. But at one point, Clemson in that week 1 preseason ranking was 14, and we didn't talk about this game. They got manhandled by Georgia, 34-3. But this is the part where which kind of blows my mind. And I get when we say that, but even hearing that from Clemson fans, you're Clemson though. I get it. It's Georgia, but at some point you can't just roll over and be like, well, it's Georgia. They kind of do that to everybody. That's baffling me. Like, did you forget who you were? And with Dabo Swinney, maybe he needs to start leaning into the transfer portal. What are you seeing with the problems with Clemson? Because I know it's Georgia, but I mean, that was absolutely manhandled. And you were top 14. I get it. It's Georgia. I wasn't picking you to win it. It wasn't even close. I mean, they got embarrassed.
Yeah. That one's a bit tougher because, he is Dabo. It is Clemson. And, you expect certain, things to take off a certain way. But, I mean, honestly, after Trevor Lawrence, it's been a struggle. You haven't quite. I mean, you got DJ, but I mean, DJ was what it was. Like you can find yourself in a whole lot more trouble if that quarterback position isn't the right fit. And I mean that's just kind of like what it is. They kind of been, they haven't gotten the D Hops. They haven't gotten the Sammy Watkins. They haven't gotten, the Mike Williams those guys that can, for 5-6 years, they had a run, of either receiver, quarterback, they had some, D linemen here and there, what stuff, but I'm not saying they got away from what has been their identity, but I mean, it's gotten harder. You got, and you got NIL where, honestly, I mean, let's just keep it. It is what it is. Like, money is, taking over that part. So the guys that you might typically get to push to the next level and everything like that, well, they're going to play for A&M because A&M throwing them a bag. They're going to play for Florida. They're going to play for Tennessee because, those places are throwing them a bag. So it's become a lot harder. But, I mean, that only you can't just – I mean, when Bo was here, Bo wasn't getting 4 and 5 stars, and he still was, competing. So you kind of got to reinvent yourself a little bit or, get the guys that, work best for your program that will run through a wall for you that you can develop and still make, splashes in the season. Everybody's on this 4 and 5 star, this and this and that. Like, you don't have to. That's one way to win. There's other ways, to get good athletes here. Because I mean, we've seen no-name schools or FCS schools get drafted in the first round. We've seen Carson Wentz go. We see Trey Lance go. And look at kind of what happened with those type of guys. So I mean, it's it goes back to evaluating the best talent and getting better talent back to Clemson.
Does he need to embrace the transfer portal? Because if you're not a fan of the transfer portal, you're probably sad that Clemson isn't having more success, because that is a real big thing from Dabo Swinney, trying to kind of stiff arm that and really focus on development, which I got nothing against. That's the route you want to go. But it's been pretty rough in that stance.
But I mean, how can you use
the key? Do you just stay patient is what I'm asking.
I mean, you can, but it just depends on it. Most of the kids that are in the transfer portal, you got a handful that have certain situations that, your Jalen Hurts situation. Mm-hmm. Completely understand, nothing to taken away from that. But you got other kids who are unhappy with not getting their way. So now you got divas, now you got crybabies who, if you don't, give them what they want, that's going to be an issue for you. And on top of that, you done already spent money. So is that, more of a risk or reward type thing for them that, works out? Maybe, maybe not. So could you go in a transfer portal for certain positions? Yes, if if it's a home run hit, a guy that fits, what you want to do, not just like, a temporary fix and all this and this and this and that. He's still trying to operate, in the old way, and you might have to reinvent yourself a little bit. So might he go in there for a few positions here and there? Yeah. I mean, or could he go, JUCO product, get some older guys that's a little bit different route of stuff. I remember when Bo was here, he was bringing in 2-3 JUCO products, every other semester. Before I got there, JUCO products. Levante David was a JUCO product. So I mean, there are different alternate routes than just reverting back to the transfer portal, because again, like, grass ain't always greener, and the kid that you could be getting honestly could be the issue and doesn't want to work and thinks everybody is just supposed to give them everything. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people kind of forget about the transfer portal. And I'm not saying everybody's like that. You do have your kids that, like I said, that did have their Jalen Hurts situation. Jalen Hurts stuck it out. He graduated, and, they still went a different way. He had to do what was best for him. Like, it was what it was. He still ended up getting to where he needed to be. Completely different versus, well, I'm not playing and you only there for 6 months or maybe a year, and it's not what you think it is, and it may be a little bit more difficult, or you not, as detailed of a person as an athlete, you're not taking it serious, and you could be costing this man, or coach or organization or some coaches where you coming from, they job. So they not, putting you out there. So I think, they have their way of evaluating with stuff, and, they stayed away from it for their own reasons.
Yeah. And I think you're right in the sense that, not to say that Nebraska's got the perfect model, but this year it's certainly working out for them, where You just get the guys that you feel like there is a perfect fit for them right then and there. I don't like it when you're bringing guys through the portal for development because you don't really know what their mindset's going to be. They might want to bounce out if they're not getting minutes. If you're just using them for development and you're not going to play them right away. In our case, it makes sense. You get Banks, Nair, like we got Dylan Raiola. Our wide receiver core is already pretty young. We saw that it was kind of weak last year, especially with the injuries. So it didn't take over development by any means, but we got some pieces that can plug and play. So yeah, if I'm Clemson, just dip your toes in the water. You don't got to get away from
certain positions, not the whole team particularly, but you get the right pieces, the right, veteran leadership and whatnot. Things can change around.
Absolutely. And with that being said, we're going to throw to our first break. But on the other side, I do want to talk about another game that I just don't think enough people had their eyes on. And that one is, of course, Oregon in Idaho. That one was closer than people realize. That was 24-14. And at one point, Idaho looked like they really could pull that one away. And Oregon, another number 4 ranked team, at least in that week 1. So that's the other one to talk about. Dylan Gabriel still played pretty phenomenal. He was 41 for 49, incredibly efficient. But there's definitely some weak spots there. In particular, same problems with Florida State, kind of getting manhandled. So maybe that might be a trend for some of these Pac-12 schools entering into the Big Ten. So we'll talk about that. Don't go anywhere. Don't Punt Hour with Des Moines Pierson-El.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call
John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Looking for a place to relax and unwind after a busy day? Cigars Lounge at 8th and Q in the Haymarket is the perfect place to enjoy good company, a cocktail, and of course a cigar. Visit Cigars Lounge on Tuesdays for Top Shelf Tuesday and enjoy 50% off select spirits. Cigars Lounge offers Perdomo, San Cristobal, Rock Patel, and more of the top stogie brands that you know and love. But that's not all. If you mention this ad between noon and 5 p.m., you'll receive 15% off your entire tab just by mentioning the ticket. Check out Cigars Lounge today at 8th and Q in the Haymarket.
For 15 years, Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been helping Lincoln become healthier, happier, and more fit through our proven combination of kickboxing, strength training, and nutrition coaching. And to celebrate 15 years of success, we're offering you 50% off our next 10-week challenge beginning September 14th. That's 10 weeks of fun group fitness classes and individualized coaching for half off. And at the end of the 10 weeks, someone's walking away with $1,000 for the best transformation. Come check it out. What do you have to lose? Click on the banner at theticketfm.com to learn more. Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping at 40th and Yankee Hill or 70th and Vine. And check us out online at fxblincoln.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Have you ever gotten a car deal so good that you can brag about for decades? This is that deal. The government has given us a $4,000 instant credit on vehicles already at the historically lowest prices. Cars that were over $50,000 just 2 years ago are now selling below $20,000. See the deals here and drive away the car of your dreams at a price you never thought possible. Go to 4000off.com, 400off.com to learn more.
Fall is the perfect time to work on outdoor projects. Whether you plan to install a fence or add shrubs to your landscape, don't risk an injury by hitting a buried power line. Always call 811 before you dig.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine with a light south breeze. We'll see an afternoon high around 84. Tonight, clear skies with an overnight low around 59. And tomorrow, more sunshine with a continued south breeze and an afternoon high around 90. I'm meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back in. Second segment of the Don't Punt Hour. Teased it on the last side, but I want to talk about Oregon and Idaho and what we're thinking about Oregon kind of heading into the season, as they got a pretty tough schedule as well. They only beat Idaho by 10 points. They definitely didn't cover the spread. It was another one of those things where you just looked at Idaho and there was a lot of times where they were just winning the line of scrimmage. And if you look at the stats, Oregon pretty much dominated in every area. But once again, when you have a team that likes to eat clock, really run the ball and kind of dominate in that area, and you're stuck to just airing it out because that's your strength, you're just leaving a lot of clock left for those teams to try to claw and fight their way back. And I know Dylan Gabriel, I mean, he was 41 for 49, no interceptions. I'm not saying this is going to be a bad year for Oregon, but I was surprised to see that on the score bug. What are your thoughts, Oregon? They get the win, but not by nearly as big as a margin as people thought.
Again, it's still, it's like I'm not fully like diving into it. Like, yeah, Gabriel played, a good game, but he ain't Bo Nix.
Bo Nix on I know it's preseason, but Bo Nix looks awesome on the Broncos. You're definitely seeing what they're missing.
So I mean, with Oregon, it's I'm pulling up it's like, oh well, yeah, like you should be doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not playing anybody that you should, that should have gave you trouble and whatnot. Did you come out and have a strong showing? Was it kind of mediocre? So it's like, it may have been one of those games, first game jitters, a lot of new people playing or whatnot. But like I said, when it comes time to where you got to play some of these powerhouse teams that, have been dominant these past couple of years, I think, we'll see what we've seen like from the Pac-12 showing up in some of those big, games to where it's like they just, they get completely dominated. And again, so I mean, will Oregon really be tested, frankly, before, this playoffs? I'm not so sure. So I mean, hopefully they can get things figured out. But I'm like, I need to see a bigger sample than that, because that, to me, that wasn't a strong showing. But regardless of what the quarterback did and everything like that, y'all are supposed to have guys left and right, but y'all still struggle with Idaho. And
that's where I'm at.
They played at home, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it was a home game.
Yeah,
they weren't Idaho.
Yeah, you know, so it's like I said, that's a bit of a head scratcher. Like, okay, again, it might be first jitters but I need to see more from them because I'm not so convinced. Even with Gabriel doing what he did, you did that against Idaho and you still only won by 10.
That's where I'm at with this team. It just feels like it surprised me that their inability to just dominate the line of scrimmage. And that's why you get 41 for 49. I mean, he was hitting a lot of just quick, shorter throws. He did have some pretty good balls in there as well. But
his average per throw was 7.8 yards. Like that's
how you get 41 for 49.
You know what I'm saying? The 380, 2 touchdowns, QBR was 56.2. Yeah, I'm not.
It wasn't a bad game, but like you said, just wasn't overly impressive.
Like going against that, if you put up, that stat line of 41 for 49, I'm expecting at least 4 touchdowns. 380s, like that's not that's good, but again, like it's almost like you kind of just scraped by. Like you lucky they weren't a little bit better of a team. Yeah. So it's you kind of.
You're lucky their DBs weren't good enough to start picking you off some of those times because you weren't able to run the ball. That's for sure.
So it's one of those ones. It's like, all right, well we'll see how you are against a physical opponent that actually can stop you. A good enough handful of times in the game, but I wouldn't say I was impressed. Like that wasn't a typical Oregon game that you're used to seeing. It's, even with under Dan, like I'm not, and I kind of think after the press conference he was kind of pissed off and irritated.
Yeah, he was mad. Not to the extent as Brian Kelly, but he wasn't happy.
So if I have to see a better showing. Like I said, I was unimpressed, and for y'all to walk out of there, y'all got lucky that so y'all played week 1.
Yeah, that part. If you get a ranked opponent, like an LSU USC game, you probably drop that.
They played LSU week 1. I don't know if they pulled that off.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
So it was very lackluster. Very lackluster.
Yeah, it's like. There's times where just because you got positive yards on that play, it doesn't necessarily mean you executed, right? You might have missed something better. You might have missed that touchdown pass we're talking about. When you see those stats, you expect to see some more touchdowns go along with it, a higher yard average. So it doesn't necessarily mean, like, yes, the numbers look clean just out of the box or the box score, but if you watch tape, you might see some things that's like, well, you missed something there, you missed that there. So I'm not out on Oregon. I'm not saying they're great. I just have a question mark.
I need more of a sample size to really gauge, like, oh, okay. Because again, like you kind of, it's a bit of a head scratcher. I'm kind of looking at you like, okay, yeah, that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of dodged the media on that one. I was like, that's kind of surprising that they were. I mean, that's a preseason.
You've had some stuff that has happened, and it's just hot right now. Oregon's typically probably not up there right
now. Yeah, and this brings me to our next point here, because it blew me away a little bit, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this list. I don't want to get too excited. I don't know if I necessarily even agree with this right now, but we did have from 247 Sports, Clint Brew of 247, former quarterback himself. He put out his top 10 QBs in college football after week 1, and at 1 he's got Texas Quinn Ewers. 2, Cam Ward. I'm good with that as long as Cam Ward's in that 1 or 2 spot. 3, Shedeur Sanders. They got Noah out of Arizona at 4. They got Jackson Dart, Ole Miss 5. Drew, Penn State 6. Milroe, Alabama 7. They got Nico out of Tennessee at 8. And number 9, Cam Rising at number 10. He puts Nebraska's Dylan Raiola to top out his list. Too early? No. I mean, I said that would be a pretty fair assumption. Again,
He didn't even play half the third quarter and didn't play the whole fourth quarter. So imagine what his stat line could have been if he would have been in.
Yeah, and he still got big freshman of the week with a half of football.
You know what I'm saying? So you can go, and I'm not trying to blow up, his ego. There's a handful of quarterbacks that has played a game, you could say, like as cleanly as he did. And for him to do that his first showing as a true freshman, like I'm pretty sure he's probably the only true freshman on that list.
Yeah, it's the first quarterback to have as high as a QBR rating that he's had since the 2018 season.
You got some guys that are draft eligible that has been, in the college realm for 3 years and still didn't necessarily operate with effectiveness and as efficient as he did. He wasn't, trying to force errant throws, which we've seen in the past or whatnot. So, I mean, his maturity with what he handled, I think for what he showed, is absolutely right. Like, it's not.
He could have had 3 touchdowns. I mean, one of those got dropped early on. It was a tough catch, a diving catch. Still should have caught it, but I think it was one of those where I don't want to beat up on the guys last year. I don't even think we have a guy that's able to kind of stretch out and even get close to that in the past to get that separation. But he should have had one more for sure. Should have had 3 passing touchdowns, because I think we ended up running it in at the end there with Gabe Irvin or Evan Johnson. I can't remember which one it was. So yeah, I'm okay with this. It is. I wanted to bring it up because, we didn't talk about Dylan Graybill wasn't on that list despite going 41 for 49. So that kind of tells you a little bit of empty stats there, right? It's not a bad game, but you maybe missed some things, didn't fully execute. And I think that's what people really pressed by Dylan Rayola.
QBR was 56.2.
Yeah.
Like that for you to get 380, that's kind of that's suspect. Again, not to keep bragging on the kid or whatnot, like, for as good as a career game, I mean, as good as a first start, in a game, like you can say, of course that did he, miss some things maybe, but he stayed on track. He didn't panic. He didn't put the offense in a bad place. The stuff that he showed, it's quarterbacks that have been playing for multiple years at this level that didn't even move with that efficiency. So, I mean, I think it's warranted. Like he deserves that for what he showed for their 2.5, 3.5 quarters he did play.
Yeah. And, and again, this is, if you're looking at those week 0, week 1 results, Dylan Rayola's name probably does stick out. And if you think we're being biased, Deion Sanders, we got them next week. He had some really high praise for Dylan Rayola as well. He was like, yeah, I was happy to see it. I was impressed by it. He looked really good. So again, that's paraphrasing there. It's not verbatim, but it was high praise nonetheless. So, that's coming from Colorado, a school that's not typically kind to Nebraska, and he didn't have to go out of his way to make that praise. He could have said he looked good, went a little bit extra on his comments. So there's some real hope there. Nebraska, it's just a matter of staying healthy. I think at this point, I think the offense looks pretty good. We've talked about the tight ends. I'm not worried about those guys. I think Satterfield will find a way to continue to get them involved. There just wasn't a big need for it against UTEP. Then we got Colorado coming up here. This is going to be a fun one to keep talking about as we inch closer to it. Real quick, though, before we go to break, I do want to talk about it. Trent Williams, 49ers finally sign him. Good morning, Pierson-El. You surprised to see them finally get this deal done?
No. I mean, Trent is their identity. Regardless of whatever you can say, the 49ers aren't the same without Trent. Like, they don't strike the same fear in people as much without Trent. So with him not there was a big piece. So you knew sooner or later something was going to get happen. They didn't even handle the contracts negotiations even remotely near how they handled, Ayuk or whatnot. So
you see Ayuk's press conference talking about that?
Now, what'd he say?
He's like, yeah, I might have made that a little harder than it needed to be at the end there. So Ayuk calls himself out. But if you're a 49ers fan, should be all smiles. Looks like all the dust has finally settled. Ayuk even had a little bit of humor for everybody saying, I might have made that a little bit harder than it needed to be at the very end there. But hey, do what you need to make sure you get signed. But yeah, the 49ers, and good news also, Christian McCaffrey looks like he's going to be coming back healthy And you should be able to have him for week 1. So things are clicking for the 49ers. They've finally signed Trent Williams. Go ahead.
Said Thursday night. It's a big test, too. You got A-Rod, primetime. Woo!
Yeah, it's about to pop off. We got a game in Brazil this week as well. Is that Eagles-Packers, right? That's the Brazil game?
No green, apparently.
No green. Oh, interesting. Right.
I'm saying that. I'm pretty sure people have heard the reports about it, but they were saying, like, the gang violence in there is really, really, hectic.
Oh.
And wearing, like, the color green is a problem. So
I did not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so they're pretty much saying, like, don't go outside the hotel if you don't have to. But then again, it's like, why are you putting people in harm's way? But
I wish they would have done another one in Mexico City. I think it's easier to travel.
Nice. That was a good venue.
Yeah. And they love it. I mean, the fans down there, I was impressed. I mean, that game was fun to watch. Like, the fans were super into it, and the players' experience. I mean, I think you should really consider what the players have to say about it. They all seem to really love it. They thought it was a good experience. Brazil, maybe a little bit too early. We'll see how true some of that stuff is, but yeah, that's not a good sign if they're warning people just about the colors they should be wearing. If you're a Packers fan, that's going to make it tough to pick out your wardrobe.
The Eagles aren't wearing green. They're wearing black. They're wearing their black helmets, black pants. Like, I'm not on break. Check it out. I'm trying to tell you, like, they're not. Eagles aren't wearing green, and that's crazy considering they are green.
Yeah, you will have to do a little bit of research there. Yeah, that's news to me. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll probably talk about that to wrap things up here, or at least mention a little bit, get more of the details out there. And then, of course, maybe a little bit of Colorado talk as well. Don't go anywhere. One more segment, Don't Punt Hour with DeMornay Pierson-El.
It's the greatest time of the year again. Kickoff is here, and football is officially back. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog, and this year you can too. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code EARLY, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code EARLY to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
With a Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring your friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. Hurry, this deal ends soon. See Home Club for details.
College football in Lincoln, America. The time has come. Start your game day off right with the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show. Join the ticket crew as they bring you all the coverage you need to get you ready for the action. It's the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show. Brought to you by General Fire and Safety, Raisin Canes, Perch Merch, Sunbelt Rentals, Mullen Motors, Select Plumbing, and the Kindler Hotel. On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket is your place for English Premier League soccer. On Saturday, Arsenal tied Brighton 1 apiece, followed by Leicester City falling to Aston Villa 2-1. On the final game of Saturday action, Man City defeated West Ham 3-1. On Sunday, Chelsea tied Crystal Palace 1-1, and then Liverpool cruised by Man United 3-0. The top two teams in the EPL standings are Manchester City and Liverpool, both at 3-0. You can catch all these matches and more at McKinney's Irish Pub, your headquarters in Lincoln for English Premier League soccer at 8th and P.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
Explain to me again why we're sleeping on the ground.
Because we're thramping, thrift camping. It's saving us money and getting us closer to nature.
But we don't need to thramp. I just combined our home and auto insurance with our State Farm agent, so we have a rate that fits our budget.
All right. Do you think our agent can bring us an air mattress?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Krekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, wrapping things up here, final segment. We're going to talk a little bit about Brazil, and I'm going to tread on eggshells the same way Matt Rule did when asked about the cultural war between Colorado and Nebraska. So trying to look at this, and I can understand why there's some concern. I'm not entirely sure yet. Just kind of been reading some of the reactions, thoughts people have been down to that city down there in Brazil, looking at some of the crime rates between the two places. It's I don't know. How do you feel about it? Because I'm going to tiptoe around this.
About just that city, or
just a good idea for the NFL to do this?
I mean, they've already, had their certain locations picked out. They've done London, they've done Germany, they've done Mexico. I seen something about maybe Australia or something like that.
Sure, would be fun. Down under.
But I mean, I understand, it's money in it, but again, you got people that you're putting them in an unsafe environment. Sometimes you might got to scratch stuff, like relocate or revisit it at another time. But you got it to where you got two green teams down there, and you're telling them not to wear green. You're telling them not to, be on your phone while you're out and about walking, or, try, if you really don't have to, leave the hotel, don't, because, it's unsafe. And yet you still put them in that environment when, they are your moneymaker. So it's sad that, you're still kind of forcing guys to do that when you could have changed things up, or you could have pushed it out, a year in advance to kind of clean things up. And, it's a lot that goes on with, traveling overseas, and because, guys are there for a week. They're not there just for 2 days or anything like that. They're there for about, 10 days plus. And then typically after that, they're typically on a bye week that following week to kind of give them, some time to catch up with travel or whatnot. I like the overseas games, but at some point in time, you're talking about health and concerns and being safety and whatnot, but yet you telling them don't wear green, and one organization isn't wearing green at all the whole game. So it's kind of contradicting themselves. But I mean, again, they're still going to do whatever they want to earn, dollars a certain way.
Yeah, and I'll play devil's advocate here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm really going to be curious. To me, this is going to come down to the player's experience after. Was it as bad as what the media has kind of been saying in some of these parts? Was it maybe overblown a little bit? But to play devil's advocate, again, I'm pretty 50-50 on this right now. Like, you can make some of those exact same arguments for Philadelphia. Don't be in this part. Don't have your phone. Like, every city is going to have bad spots. I'd be really surprised if the NFL just drops them in the worst part of that city. I think they'll take care of them. But like I said, I don't entirely know. I'm not well versed in Brazil and their crime statistics and what it really looks like, how well reported it is. So again, I don't want to slander Brazil, and I don't want to slander Philadelphia either. So I'm going to walk on eggshells. I'm not entirely sure. I'm 50-50. The players' reactions after they've actually been there for a week, then I'll see. I hope it's great. I hope everything goes well. Idea. Yeah, to go ahead and spread the game internationally, but you got to be smart about it. Hopefully the NFL made sure they checked everything they needed to make sure this was a good idea. So I'm a bit undecided. Still think maybe a little bit too soon. I think some of those other places, maybe go to Mexico City more consistently as opposed to just picking this place. I think the best way to do it would be pick some places, the places where you get some pop, be more frequent there instead of just trying to pickpocket a spot every year. I kind of like the idea of just having one game a year in Mexico City. I think London was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
What's one more place that you would love to see? Because I think you're a fan of having just one international game.
They said I think Germany is the new game this year, so I think that'll be pretty good. I think that'll be a fun experience on all sides. Hopefully, it's not cold. When I can't remember which exactly team is going this year, but I think that's a fabulous location. I think they're rich with sports. So, even if it's something that, a lot of, their civilians maybe not so familiar with, they'll still come out to celebrate, sports and whatnot. And it's a good competitive nature there with stuff. So I think Germany will be a good one. That's a good location.
Yeah, the one I'll throw out here as we wrap things up, and I'm curious what your thoughts on it. I think this would be awesome because Japan, they actually got a fan base for football. It's a different crowd. Like, I don't know what their interest level would be for the NFL, but I'd be curious because I think they would actually be pretty excited because they do have quite a few football programs around there.
I can see Japan happening sooner than later. I know the NFL does some events like, after with alum NFL players and some NFL players to go down there to kind of get that certain situation done, to kind of experience certain stuff. So I think that's one of those games that you'll probably see sooner than later. But I've known some people that have went down there and they loved it. It's a culture shock, but they said they enjoyed themselves tremendously. Even after the Beijing games and everything like that, a lot of stuff went up, just for that their culture holistically. So I think it'll happen, hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think just because exactly what you said, people I've known, I've never been there, but people that have been there actually loved it. Again, they're not living there; they're only there for a week's time. But that's what these guys would be doing. I think it'd be an interesting one to dial up. But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see how this one in Brazil goes. Good morning, Pierson-El. Appreciate the time as always. We're gonna wrap things up here. Again, join us tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Up next, What's Brewing? Chance of Brewington, the second former Husker. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.